Airports across the country were forced to cancel hundreds of flights starting today, including Denver International Airport. That's where our Veronica Acosta is tonight, getting answers about the cancellations and how one major airline is handling cuts.
Well, tonight there are 270 flights delayed out of DIA. 75 have been canceled, though I'll say those have held pretty steady since early this morning, and that's because those were preemptive, right? The FAA ordered those cuts. Of course, we know the FAA ordered a 10% service cut. That was across the board for all of those airlines across the country just a couple of days ago. What they're trying to do is ease the burden for those air traffic controllers. They are working without pay right now as the government shutdown really rages on, like you said, in day 38. Now, airlines were asked to start with a 4% service cut. That was today. For United Airlines, that meant canceling 21 of its flights out of Denver. I spoke with the vice president of operations for United Airlines, who compared this to about a small snowstorm, though she admitted next Friday, when and if those cuts have to reach that 10% mark, because or if the government shutdown is still going, 50 to 55 flights will have to be canceled. She compared that to a medium snowstorm. Now, when it comes to how United is choosing what flights to cancel, she told me they're looking at those 40 airports that are impacted.
We're canceling a little bit of our mainline and our commuter traffic. We're also canceling some other markets that both airports are affected as being in the top 40, like a Seattle or a Sacramento, some of those markets. But we do have multiple flights to those locations, so there's still opportunities to get there.
And McGrath told me United is also consolidating. They're looking at flights that maybe are a little bit emptier, taking those travelers and then putting them on flights that might have a few seats to make that all just go a little bit smoother. I did ask her about the holiday travel season, only a couple of weeks away, you guys, until that Thanksgiving rush starts. She told me her officials are thinking about that as well, and they're coming up with some sort of plan.
Veronica, I can't help but notice behind you, things seem pretty calm, pretty chill, but as you're walking around the entire airport, what is the vibe like right now? Is it crowded?
You know, I'll say we have probably seen it a little bit more frenzier in weeks and years past. So it is just a little bit calmer, a little bit quieter. But part of that is because of those preemptive cuts, right? United, at least, did this thing where they let some of their travelers know, hey, your flight's canceled for tomorrow, so don't worry about going to the airport at that specific time. A lot of those people, they weren't waiting around as you typically see maybe during a snowstorm.
So, Veronica, United alerted passengers about flights that are canceled throughout the weekend, but we know that the shutdown is continuing into next week. So what happens on Monday?
Right, and McGrath acknowledged that because now we know that the shutdown is going to go into its 6th week. Of course, they put out a list with those canceled flights for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. She said she expects a different list to go out by the end of tonight with what flights are going to be canceled on Monday.
Well, they're doing a great job keeping everybody informed about what's going on. Veronica Acosta for us tonight. Veronica, thank you.